So the current view today from Orthodox folks towards Catholic folks is what? You guys believe they have a valid communion, and you guys are friendly but not friendly.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by valid communion. What would that mean?
So
How do
you guys,
understand that?
from my understanding, the body, because there's still apostolic succession, that they do have a real church.
So that's that whole way of explaining it is very Western.
Okay.
Yeah.
Help me out here.
I'm sorry. I want to unpack it the way I understand it.
Please.
I take very seriously that I'm representing the Orthodox Church,
Sure.
not my own views. So I have to sometimes become a little stickler.
No, that's
I
fine.
want to make sure people
By all
understand the
means.
Orthodox Church. So, the church is the continuation of the incarnation. It's Christ unto the ages, the same yesterday, today, and forever. And the mysteries of the church, baptism, chrismation, communion, ordination, all these things, including tonsuring. There's not just 7 sacraments in the Orthodox Church. There are many, many workings out of salvation through the church's life. All of this is one. It's united. It's an expression of the incarnation, expression of the presence of Christ in the world. Christ gives and is given in every mystery, in every sacrament, right? So there's no way we can divide the mysteries and say that outside of the mystery of the incarnation, the church throughout ages, there is the mystery of whatever, ordination or baptism, because all of it incorporates into this one life, and it's all united in the Eucharistic synaxis. In other words, the divine liturgy. That's the center of all the mysteries. So in the ancient church, you were baptized in the divine liturgy, in the synaxis of all the faithful on Sunday morning. You were chrismated, you were ordained. Still to this day, we still ordain all the priests within the divine liturgy. That's not just some quirky tradition. That's a theological statement that everything is united in Christ in the Eucharist, and so there's no division of mysteries. In other words, in Vatican II, which I did my PhD thesis on the ecclesiology of Vatican II.
Okay.
Vatican II, it's very clear that, and this is from Congar, the great dogmatic theologian of Vatican II, that you can talk and think about the mysteries as divided. So they understand that there are people baptized but not communing.
Okay.
In the Orthodox perception, that's impossible, because baptism, chrismation, and communion, not only is it all three given on the day of initiation, but one leads to the other and it finds its fulfillment in the other. So I'm baptized in order to commune. So I can never imagine that somebody could be baptized but not also receive the Pentecost and then participate in the mystical supper. All these things are united. So without any kind of prejudice against Roman Catholics at all, I just theologically it's not possible for us to embrace the idea that somebody could be outside of the one faith, one church, the mysteries, that which has been handed down, and have some of the faith, but not all of it, some mysteries, but not all of it. It breaks down the unity in Christ. Like St. Paul says, is Christ divided? And on the ecclesiological level, that's what we see today. We see this idea that Christ can be divided. And it doesn't stand. It's not what we taught for the first 1,800 years.
Okay.
It's a new teaching.
Okay. So I'm trying to better understand your
it's a
view
big topic.
of Catholics.
Yeah, it's a big topic. Well,
so are they in?
So, and then the other thing I want to say was apostolic succession. We talk about apostolic succession. In the West, apostolic succession is seen as the let's say legal and physical and practical laying on of hands, so that the next person is deemed a continuation and a successor of the apostles. In the Orthodox East, in the Orthodox Church, the faith and succession are inseparable. Okay. So if the person is of the Orthodox faith, the succession, of course, is happening. But if they depart from the Orthodox faith, succession is impossible. What does it mean to be a successor of the apostle if you don't teach what the apostles taught? If you're not a part of that same experience and faith once delivered. Okay. So we see Catholicism from the 11th century departing from the one faith when, as I said earlier, innovated and departed from the councils, departed from the creed, which had been given in the first ecumenical council. They departed and they saw themselves as autonomous, essentially, and over the other bishops, and that they can add doctrine without reference to an ecumenical council. That departure put them on a trajectory that took them far from the Orthodox faith and the faith of the apostles. So without the faith, what is succession? It becomes legalistic. Oh, he put his hands on so-and-so, put his hands on so-and-so. Yeah, but the presupposition is that the revelation and the understanding and experience of what's been revealed to us is the same today, yesterday, today, and forever. If it's not, then the succession has little meaning.
Interesting. Okay, so
Does that make sense?
it does make sense, but it sounds
It sounds pretty harsh. When
it sounds pretty harsh.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I can't not be consistent
No,
with
that's
what
fair.
the teachings of the faith for 2,000 years.
So on an official level, do they have a valid baptism and a valid communion?
Well, we live in the time of ecumenism, which, including the Orthodox Church, we have people who I think are departing from the faith once delivered. So we have a struggle going on.
Okay.
Which is not, if you know church history, it's not that surprising. Like there was 100 years of iconoclasm. I think we'll talk about that shortly. It's very interesting. So we had 100 years where the emperor forced upon the entire Christian world at the time, at least in the Orthodox East mainly, the idea that icons must not be venerated, must not be, and in fact they should not be even on the level of the faithful. They had icons in some places above, but you could not have access to them. So that idea came in. It was forced on the people, and there were martyrs and confessors for the faith against this idea. So today we have something similar. We have essentially an imposed view of Christianity, the church, that's coming from political sources, coming from certain academic sources. But is it that which the Orthodox has taught for 2,000 years? And so we're having a big struggle in the church right now. Like I was just on Mount Athos for 8 days, talked to all the fathers there. Mount Athos is really the center of the Orthodox Church in terms of the last 1,000 years, in terms of mission and sanctity. And to this day, so many holy teachers and fathers and elders come from Mount Athos. And there, there's a consensus that this teaching that is definitely been introduced in the last 100 years and coming from the ecumenical circles is not the same faith that was delivered. So we have a struggle going on about what is Catholicism. So there are those who say, yes, they're part of the church. We have a division, but they're still like an apostolic church. The Pope is a bishop. And he teaches wrongly in some things, but nonetheless he's retained his apostolic. There's people in the Orthodox Church who teach that, but it doesn't square with what we've been taught for 2,000 years. That idea, how can we have a church that's divided? How can we have somebody teaching as a successor of the apostle who teaches something that the apostles never taught, and especially grievous doctrines like infallibility, which is really all the saints. Just see it as really egregious, and a departure from the faith.
So you guys got some real beef with the Catholics. It sounds like
it's not. We would love for them to come back to the first millennium. Come back to the faith which has never been, that they had for the first millennium. The church in Rome was a great and a witness to the faith for the first millennium. But we can't lie and say that these innovations and these additions are consistent with the first millennium.
Sure. I mean, I think there's a lot there that I'm sure my Catholic viewers will be upset by, but I appreciate your consistency and honesty.
If we don't have honesty and sincerity, then what is ecumenism at the end of the day, right? Then it's just like we're just gonna like paper over all our differences. I don't think that's going to be true.
Well, in your response, it does sound like you kind of alluded to that there is no one monolithic position from the Orthodox that you're saying, hey, I can't sparse this, honestly. However, there are some folks that will say they have a valid baptism and a valid, baptism and communion. Yeah,
sure, there are. The question is, they can't both be true.
Okay.
And they can't both be the same teaching for 2,000 years. So which is it? And that's been provoked, again, from the outside, as it were. It's coming from the ecumenical movement, which started among the Protestants. I have a little book on this, The Roots of Modern Ecumenism. It's really interesting because it started in the mission field in Africa among Protestants. So there are Methodists and there were Baptists and there were people. Yeah. And they said, look, we have a common experience, even though we don't have common theology. And so they saw theology as divisive experiences as uniting. From an Orthodox patristic viewpoint, that's impossible because theology expresses our experience. So if the theology divides, that means we have a breakdown in the common experience of not just today, right? Well, you said there are people today who teach X in the Orthodox Church. Well, it's got to be both and. In other words, it's got to be both today and always if it's going to be the one faith delivered, right? So it's diachronic throughout history and in space and time.
Sure.
If those two things don't show up, the cross is not there, the vertical and the horizontal is not there, it's not the Christian faith that was delivered by Christ. Even if there are Orthodox bishops teaching it, doesn't matter. You know, the misconception is that in the Orthodox Church, or among people who look at the Orthodox Church, is that somehow we have a Eastern papacy. We're the Catholicism without the Pope. Couldn't be farther from the truth. We don't have anything to do with that system of government, which we reject. The papalism is a way of looking at the church. There have been many heretical bishops in prominent positions. Of course, we would consider that there were popes of Rome that were anathematized by ecumenical councils. There were patriarchs of Constantinople that were the leaders of grave heresy that brought division into the church. So it's messy, but if you understand church history and you read the lives of the saints and the teachings of the saints, it's not hard to see.